Hey folks, well, what is happening? Welcome to Dragonflight. We're having a bunch of fun. We got a bunch of crazy Drakthir running around all over the place. But today, we're not worried about casters. We are talking about the Blood DK right here. So, my friends, overall, Blood continues to be in a fantastic spot that it was when we finished up Shadowlands. Really excited. Not a ton of changes happening, but with some of the changes that we're seeing with other classes actually gaining stuns, it's actually going to allow the toolkit for Blood DKs to increase significantly here. So, awesome art here. Let's give that some credit just before we jump into the fun stuff. Now, here we are. This is where your talent should be sitting here. Initially, we're going to start with our Mythic Plus build, and then we'll jump into the Raid build. Specifically around Mythic Plus, there's kind of a little bit of variation that's here. You can go with a blood tap based build, and under that perspective, you've got a few different options here. For myself, I try to actually expand this down. Get Bloodshot as your closeout option. You want to put 2 ranks into Shattering Bone. So effectively, your tree's going to look just like it does right here. But as we get our 5 additional talents, when we get to level 70, you're going to put 1 in Red Thirst. You're going to put 1 in Ironheart, 1 in Bloodshot, and then 2 actually over here in Shattering Bone. Overall, this is going to put you in a really nice defensive position going into any Mythic Plus dungeons. Now, what you'll see over here on the other side, we're going to continue with Icy Talons, get that up to rank 2. Going to put 2 points into Rune Mastery, just driving your strength up. It's absolutely the most important thing for us here. We're going to continue with Abomination Limb, and then we're going to go with the Empowered Rune Weapon. Now, if you're less worried about, let's say, being as tanky and having the survivability that Blood Death Knight did a fantastic job with in Season 4, you can go with a slightly different build, and that is actually put your 2 points in Shattering Bone, put a point in Red Thirst, put a point in Ironheart. You can go with Bloodshot, and you can go with Purgatory. Ultimately, if you are trying to advance this build, you're going to have to back up on a couple of talents as they're laid out above. So we're going to move away. You'd have to give up on Blood Tap as well as Leeching Strike. So we'd go down to Improve Bone Shield, Reinforce Bones, and that's how you pick up one of the 2 talent points that you need to make the jump down here. Additionally, nobody likes to really brag about this a whole lot, but you got to go back and you got to cleave some of the base abilities out of the tree. So go back, reevaluate where you're at. But effectively, I'm not looking for the damage perk with Purgatory. I am looking to maximize my survivability here, certainly at the start of Season 1 as we start to transition in here. Now, alternatively, the raid builds for Death Knight, it's super functional. We've got a ton of flexibility here with our different utility that we bring to the table. The key talents for us that we're absolutely going to prioritize, get your point into Empower Rune Weapon, and then it's really up to you. You want to have these 3 abilities here, Unholy Ground, Death's Echo, and Will of Necropolis, but then you get to play around if you prefer Abomination Limb or Soul Reaper. I'm probably leaning towards Abomination Limb personally, but ultimately, Soul Reaper has a lot of benefit there as well, especially if you're in raids. You know you're going to be looking at your opponent's health being below 35% health a good portion of the time, so you should be able to play around with that Soul Reaper ability quite a bit. Now, what you'll actually see here on the other side is that the base tree for raiding is actually going to be very, very similar to that base tree that we just discussed for maximizing your damage. All of these upper branches are going to look the exact same. Where you get your 5 additional points, you'll put 1 here into Shattering Bone to get it up to rank 2. Then you'll go over, put 1 into Ironheart, 1 into Red Thirst, 1 into Bloodshot, and then like we mentioned before, 1 into Purgatory. This is the absolute key to this build. So, this is very strong. It's not absolutely necessary here if you prefer to go into a different direction with Blood Shield. I don't know. I really appreciate the physical damage buffs that come with this specific build, but there's a couple components here with this that are relatively situational. Tightening Grasp, you can play around with this or not. We don't necessarily need it with this build, so you can play there. Additionally, that's the same case if you want to play around with Ironheart, Red Thirst, maybe if you wanted to back off on Bloodshot and put a couple of abilities up here into Red Thirst, or maybe pick up a little bit. I know everybody likes to look at Rune Tap and have that effectively extra cooldown in place. There's a lot of different options here, but overall, Blood DKs you're going to realize are super tanky, they've got great survivability, and are in a really fun spot here going into Dragonflight. That's all I got, folks. I hope you're having fun. Let me know what's good, bad, what you'd like to see more of, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.